This guy.
Starting in about 2 months, we're at the Chaplain Corps College. We're starting a new course called the Squadron Chaplain Course, and this training is going to exist within that course as well. So um, this will be a good practice in preparation for administering that course. All right, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. You see my Google screen there?
Yep, I got it. I'm going to take my video off.
Okay. All right, I'm going to navigate to e-services. And I have mine set up so that I don't have to do the two-factor authentication where they send you an extra code. Um, Sometimes they'll make you enter in a code and it sends it to your email or your phone and you'll need to enter that in. But
Right.
and if you haven't already, I would recommend using this favorite apps section to put Chaplain Corps reports in there so you don't have to navigate and find it every time. But for the
Oh,
sake of the training, I'm going to navigate over to the upper left corner menu, click on Chaplain, go down to Chaplain Corps Reports. Should bring up this page right here. All right, this is kind of the home page of CAPCCARS, formerly called the Form 34, but it's Civil Air Patrol Chaplain Corps Activity Reporting System. Oh, it's right there. It says it right there. CAPCCARS. All right, so we're going to click on Chaplain Corps Activity Reporting. And mine's going to look a little different because I'm serving at the wing and region level than most of what other people will experience. So for most people, you're going to have one line right here that should have your unit number and this box here. You're going to select either let's see. You'll select either chaplain or CDI, which is not listed in this one because I'm no longer a CDI. But you'll select whichever one you are. Well, let's back up just a little bit here. Okay, so when you open this page, you want to check that you're in the correct period, which it should default to whatever the current reporting period is. The reports go from January to the end of June, and then July through the end of December, which is the period we're in right now. Ignore this part. This is just for chaplains in supervisory positions. We need to submit these numbers. So we get a little bit extra time to gather up the information that we need. Your name should be here as well as your grade, your unit. Okay, so we got back down to this box here. You should just have one line. You might have two, depending on when you enter in your information. So if you enter in information, check and make sure that period right here is the correct reporting period. So these two right here for me are the past period, so I don't want to enter in any other information for those. All right, so this is just this box here is just a summary of what you're going to be submitting. And these are the numbers that get sent in to your wing chaplain, that sends it to the region and then to the National Chaplain Corps. All right, to submit an activity, you're going to go down here. Again, you shouldn't have these diamond things. Just kind of ignore that. So I'm going to enter in this activity, this training that I'm providing. If you notice on the left, there are going to be a whole bunch of columns, different categories for entering in information. Some of the categories will not apply to you, and that's okay. For most of us, the Air Force Association, Air Force support, that kind of stuff will not apply. So don't worry about those. All right, so I'm actually going to start with administrative here. So to prepare for this meeting, I set up a scheduled meeting, and I sent out an email in conjunction with that. So you're going to click on this subject here, the category. And the first thing that's going to pop up you want to look at is this column right here. You're going to select the unit that you are providing the service for, whether it's your own unit or a unit within the wing. I've got all of the region units listed here, but for my purposes, this training is targeted towards Utah wing members. So I'm going to submit this under the unit for the wing, Utah 001. Over here to the date, this activity was done today. You can also go back in time any time during the reporting period, and enter in if you are entering this in after the fact, and that's fine. So I'm going to hit done. All right, the activity it was kind of two separate activities to set up this meeting and then send the email. I'm going to count it as one activity. Most of the time, this number will be 1. If you're in a multiple day activity, it might be different, but generally this is going to be the number 1. Hours spent. So in all of these boxes, with the exception of expenses, it will only accept whole numbers. So even though it took me 5 minutes to set up the meeting and send the email, I round up to the nearest hour. So I'm going to put 1 hour in, even though it took me 5 minutes, whatever it was. I'm going to stick in 1 hour. I did not use any mileage. Often you will submit mileage in a different section, and I'll show you that in just a little bit, but there was no mileage involved in this. And no expenses. I didn't go out in the middle of sending an email and spend money on McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever. So I'm going to leave that at 0. And I didn't spend any money on materials to provide this training. So that's going to remain 0. But if I had, I could input the amount, something like that I would enter in if I'd spent that much. Okay, this note section is important. We need to describe what the activity was that you are submitting an activity for. So I'm going to put on here CAPCCARS training for Utah wing members, virtual. That way, the wing chaplain or the region chaplain or the national who goes in and is trying to figure out what exactly we're spending our time on, they will have an idea of what it is that you're doing. And it'll help you keep track as well. Okay. So for right now, that's all I'm going to submit. And that's all the information you need. Should just take a few seconds to fill that out. It may take longer the first time or if you have questions, but that particular activity I'm done with. So I'm going to go down here to save. Click on save. All right. So if I wanted to, I could go and click on view entries. Not that one. Stand by. Wrong thing. Okay, here's this one. Nope, not that one. Current reporting period. Okay. So this is the activity that I just typed in. It is now in the system, and you don't need to do anything else with it.
You don't have to save it?
I did save it. Yep, so down at the bottom of the page here, I clicked on save. If you see.
Oh, okay.
Can you see my mouse as I'm navigating?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you click on save after you've submitted, after you've typed in that information. If, for example, I typed in something incorrect and I submitted it accidentally, I put in the wrong unit number, I put in the wrong reporting period, date, whatever it was, and I click save, you can go back in and edit.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm going to go to Montana 60th Squadron, and I'm going to select that box because it was a mistake box, and I'm going to hit delete. You will then have to resubmit it. You'll just retype it in, which is kind of a pain, but that's how it is for right now. Hopefully it's not too much of an inconvenience. But that's how you can go in and change, so by deleting and then redoing it. So this administrative category, this category includes phone calls, emails, anything that is kind of administrative in nature. We send a lot of emails in CAP, in Civil Air Patrol, and so feel free to enter those in, even if it takes you 45 seconds to read an email. That's 45 seconds out of your day that you weren't doing something else that you devoted to Civil
Oh,
Air Patrol. So enter that in,
okay.
which is why in some of these I have a lot of activities reported. I mean,
Can you
use your,
go,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, can you go to a regular squadron meeting then?
Yes, yes, I'm going to work my way down these categories. So I'll get down to that in just a moment. So administrative, that'll probably be one of the categories that has a higher count to it. So if you're sending an email, enter that in. Okay, aerospace education support. So if you hover over these items, most of them will have a kind of a gray drop-down box. It says category activities. That gives you a little more explanation on what this category covers.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, it is. So aerospace education support, if you happen to go to an air show, if you participate in CAP Worship Weekend, which is now called in December, you'd want to enter that kind of stuff in, because that's aerospace education, and introducing people to Civil Air Patrol and recruiting. So again, you can hover. The Air Force Association, a lot of our Civil Air Patrol members are also members of the Air Force Association. We get a free membership to that. So if you're involved in that in any way, please feel free to enter that in. I'm subscribed to an email service, a daily email service. So if I spend time perusing those emails and those notifications, I will often enter those in as well. Air Force support. Most people will not be entering into here. So there are some folks who are qualified, whether in emergency services or in other ways, to provide support to the Air Force directly, to local units. That would go in this section. So you can see admin support, counseling, religious services, wedding, etc. Most of what Chaplain Corps members and Civil Air Patrol do will not include Air Force support, but there are a few of us who do participate in that and need that category. All right, CAP related meetings, Civil Air Patrol related meetings. So this is going to be where you enter in squadron meetings that you are not facilitating. So CAP related meetings. So let's say I go to down to Phantom Squadron, and let's say I went this last Thursday. Oh, that's why it's doing that. Sometimes it won't let you click. So in that case, you just need to go in here and just edit it directly. That's about half the time it does that for me. Okay, so if I went down to Phantom Squadron down in Spanish Fork last weekend, I want to enter this in. You want to include your travel time in these numbers here. So it takes me an hour each way to get down there, so that's 2 hours plus, let's say 2.5 hours that I'm down there. So that would be 4.5 hours. You want to round up. So that would be 5 hours of squadron meeting time.
Yeah, when I was down in Ephraim, it'd take me an hour to get to Richfield.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to include that time and account for that time. For me, it's about a 55-mile drive, or no, I think it's about a 55-mile drive, and you want to do round trip, so all of your mileage. So I would put something in like that, or whatever the exact mileage is. And I had to fill up with gas on the way, so I estimated that it probably used, we'll say $10 of gas.
And this is not something you're expecting to get reimbursed for.
You will not be reimbursed for this. The type of things that we are reimbursed for in Civil Air Patrol are not covered in the Chaplain Corps reporting. And that
Oh.
is a separate route if you do need to be reimbursed. Generally, you need to have that approved ahead of time to travel to a region training or something like that. And the Wing Finance Committee will need to approve that ahead of time. But that is a
Okay.
totally separate set of forms, and this form right here is just for information purposes. You will not be submitting anything through this.
So you round up the financial, the expense?
The expenses, you want to do an exact number, the best that you can.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's hard because, you know, I used a fraction of a tank of gas, and so I could also, you know, estimate. Normally this is about $10 worth of gas, so I'm going to enter in that. If you're on an activity like a SAREX or a search and rescue exercise or an operations exercise, anything you spend on food, lunch, or whatever it is, treats for somebody else, you want to definitely enter that in. Sometimes you can get that reimbursed, but again, that's not through this form. That is through the wing and the finance committee and the wing administration officer. Okay, so in the note, I'm going to say attended Phantom Squadron meeting and observed an aerospace education night, something like that. Or you can just say attended the meeting. That's fine. But you want to say what it is that this activity is. Hopefully that makes sense. So this, again, CAP related meetings, that covers staff meetings, committee meetings. Let's see if it includes anything else on here. It doesn't. Squadron meetings, anything that's not really covered by these other categories. Okay, so I'll go
So
in.
you don't have to report that you supervised cadets or you had a ministry of presence or any of that.
You absolutely can, and that would be helpful for your wing chaplain to know. So feel free to provide that if you would like. You don't have to. This is mostly a note, just kind of what it is. I could say provided ministry of presence to senior members this time. I focus up my time on senior members, and that would be perfectly appropriate. So again, I would go through and save. And if I wanted to look that up later, I can to review it. So I can take a look. It's going to be this one since it's the new reporting period. Nope, wrong one. That's a staff meeting. Apologies. Yep, so there's the report I just submitted. Okay, so that's going to stay in there. And again, this is a test one, so I'm going to delete it so it's not on my actual report. Okay. Character development facilitation. My guess is probably this is going to be where you spend most of your reporting time for most of our character development instructors and several of our chaplains as well. This would go if you're doing CDI that night. This is where the entire evening would be represented. You would not put it in CAP related meetings, even if you do other activities during that time.
Oh, okay.
It's not the end of the world if it's in one or the other or both, but this category is meant for that. Okay, so we'll say I go there and I went Friday night and it's not wanting me to let me do it again. So I'm going to enter it in right there. So this character development facilitation category includes your prep time, travel time, facilitation time, the meeting time, all that kind of stuff.
And
we'll say
if you stayed at the meeting after your presentation, is that included?
I would include it, yes. Yeah, I mean, you could split it up if you want, but that seems like more paperwork to me, which I'm not a fan of, probably like most people. But I would stick it in this night only. Mileage, let's say I drove 5 miles each way and I spent $4.59 on printing materials. I printed out a whole bunch of brochures, which we don't do a ton of anymore, but if I did, I could stick that in there. Most of the time, this category is going to be 0. Just leave it as 0. And we'll say that the topic that week or this month was integrity. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head right now. But you type in what lesson. It's important to include what lesson you presented, because this is also going to be used in the future for validation. If you're working on like your technician rating or your other ratings for CDI or for a chaplain.
Yeah, I think my last lesson was feedback.
Feedback. Okay.
That was for July.
Okay, that sounds right. Okay, so I would submit that, hit save, and
And wait a minute, when you said submit it, then save.
oh, sorry, by saving it. I
Oh,
apologize. I made
by
that
save.
did
Okay.
not make that clear. So clicking save is the same as submitting. You can also enter in several activities at a time. So say I entered in an email or some phone calls, and I entered in emergency training services activity and a character development facilitation. You could submit all those activities at the same time. You don't need to save after each and every one. Just make sure you save at the end. Okay, we've just got a few minutes left.
Oh, but by the way, on the
Yes.
Military Chaplains Association, I sent them a check when I first signed up for that, but they don't send any requests for more. There doesn't seem to be a yearly fee or anything.
Really?
At least I've never.
I am not currently a member of that, but I can ask about that if you want. I know some people who are. So yeah, if they had you attend any activities or participate in training, or they sent out a monthly newsletter or something, you would include that. I would imagine that they would send out that kind of information.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
sure why they
seems like
wouldn't
it.
be.
But I read it every time they send it, so that I guess I'll put it in that category.
Yeah, go ahead and include that. If you look at this emergency services category, this is probably one where you'll enter in a lot of hours at a time. If you're involved in whether it's a SARX and OPSEX or actual missions, go ahead and enter those in here. Sometimes they span multiple days. If that's the case, you want to enter in something for each day. So let's say this is a 3-day exercise. No, let's see. You don't need to. No, you don't need to enter in each day. I misspoke. I apologize. One activity. So let's say it's a 3-day exercise, and I spent 34 hours over those 3 days doing that mission. And we'll say I drove 135 miles and spent $40 in food and other things for that mission. Go ahead and stick that there. I would put in the mission number. You don't have to. I don't remember. Let's see, 24 actual, and we'll just put in a number here. Whatever the actual mission number would be, you'd want to stick that in there. Okay. I'm not going to be including this, so I'm not going to enter that in. All right, other cadet activities. So this includes drill, encampment, wreaths across America, parades. Some of our cadets are involved in parades in the summer or other times. Feel free to include that.
We've got one this Wednesday.
Perfect. Yep. So that would go in this other cadet activities. Make sure you're accounting for that time. Other military support. Some of our chaplains have qualifications not just to support the Air Force, but to support other units as well. It's pretty uncommon, but that category is there, but most people will not be using this category.
Would that be like the VA?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, that's a good one. I know a couple times we've done some things with Army units that request chaplain support, but that's pretty infrequent. All right, we got about 5 minutes before this meeting ends. Pastoral ministries. This one is not going to be a commonly used one. I guess if you receive a phone call or something outside of normal meeting times, or spend a fair amount of time in prayer with individuals outside of meeting times, I would include that right here. Or conducting a worship service, again, not associated with ES activity or encampment or something like that. You would include that here. Let's see. Counseling prayer. Okay. Promotional activities. If you go do recruiting and retention or AE, not AE, recruiting activities, you can include that here. So it's got schools, service clubs, etc. Some of our units are involved with supporting Boy Scout merit badge activities that would be included here in promotional. Kind of community outreach kinds of things. Hopefully you have a lot of time entered in here in training and education as well. This includes, looks like it includes SARXs. So this will be training activities, not actual missions, but training will go in here. Any online courses, any classes in Access, which is now going to be called Absorb. So online training, any kind of training, you're going to stick in here. I attended URMR. So that was one activity that I did for a lot of time, traveled a long way, spent a lot of money. That would be included in that section.
Well, you got off cheap.
I sure did. I sure did. And I know that. It's normally a little bit more expensive than that, but worked out a deal. Other activities, anything that's not covered very well, I would include that. I've used this a couple of times, but I can't think of any examples off the top of my head. Non-activity expenses. I'm not sure what would go in this category, to be honest. So I'm not very helpful for this category. I guess if you're purchasing some new windshield wipers for a vehicle, because you're the closest one to the CAP vehicle for your squadron and you were doing that, maybe that could go there. But I think this is kind of the catch-all. The other activities is going to be the catch-all for anything that doesn't fit in these other categories. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact your wing chaplain or someone else who's comfortable filling out this CAPCCARS report. For most people, this bottom section, there's not going to be any options to select alternate titles or members because I've got supervisory responsibilities. I have access to everybody in the region, basically, so that I can look at their reports and make sure that everything's checking out. And I also have, as a wing chaplain and region, I also have privileges to edit and add things to your report if you're having a real difficult time entering in information. That is one way to get it entered in, is to work with me or someone else to have them enter that in for you, and that's okay as well. I've done that. I do that most of the time, actually, for each reporting period. So again, by the end, we expect these entries to be made in as they happen. Obviously, that's not always realistic, so I would try to enter them at least maybe weekly, monthly at the very latest. Otherwise, you end up like what I had to do up here, just massive bulk entries. This one was a bulk entry because I didn't realize that they needed a report for this last period because the regulation was not in effect until July 1, but they wanted some information, so I had to enter a bulk report, and I'm sure that I missed a lot of things. I know that I did. Okay, so we've got less than a minute left. Do you have any questions, Chaplain Barton? Might
No,
represent anyone else who might have questions.
That really explained it well. I really appreciate it. I'd like to have you do Weimers or whatever they call it next time.
Wimmers. Yes, and that's going to be included in the Squadron Chaplain course that is going to be starting in a couple months. So stay tuned for registration for that course. That's going to be a nationwide course, and we'll provide Wimmers training in that. But since that's not required of most of our Chaplain Corps members,